Chennai-based management institution Liba had organized Insight 2009. It was a symposium which had a lot of heads of companies reach out to the youngsters with some new and interesting business ideas. I caught up with Kumar Ramanathan of Vodafone on the sidelines of Insight 2009. Joining us today on Business Line is Mr. Kumar Ramanathan, Chief Marketing Officer of Vodafone. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Pranav.
Starting up, my first question to you is, we've seen a lot of changes at Vodafone in the last year. You've joined as the Chief Marketing Officer. Where are these changes coming from and where are they leading to?
Organization changes are, it's a part of the evolvement of an organization. And, Ashim was with us long innings. I think he had plans which he wanted to pursue. So leadership change in that sense. Otherwise, we have had probably the most stable management as an organization. I've been in the organization for a little more than 8 years. And most of the senior management have been intact. The kind of same leadership team have evolved and grown with the organization. So given what telecom has gone through as an industry, you must understand that in the last 8-9 years, the telecom space has probably covered the distance of what other industries would take 30 years to cover. And the changes you would encounter in another organization industry in 30 years, right? And if you take that as a reference point, we have had very little change. We have been phenomenally stable.
So coming to these marketing plans, you have each and every telecom service provider coming out with a new plan, coming out with a new campaign, changing tariffs. What do you think about these?
I think the take is very straightforward. Tariff is not a differentiator on a steady state basis. It cannot be. There is one fundamental thing, because the time to change is extraordinarily short in telecom. You are in a virtual product space, and because of which we will have, if we need to compete, we will. And so hence, anybody who embarks on tariffing to stay competitive is not going to be sustainable, right? What works for the customer is an ability to look at sustained value, right? Now, if everybody were to go to the lowest common denominator of whatever is the price point, then all of us will have a similar looking balance sheet or similar looking P&L. The important thing is your business is predicated on 3 pillars. You need to have service, you need to have network, you need to have brand. Now, I am very careful and I'm saying that tariff is not the 4th pillar, because it will come to balancing it out. If we don't give, and in all these 3 pillars, the unifying factor is a value equation, right? Right value through right coverage, making sure his experience on network is good, his grade of service. Every transaction of a customer is a moment of truth.
Okay, coming to this pay per second plan, which everyone is talking about right now, and then Reliance cutting down to 50 paisa for a minute for all STD and everything. What are you going to get? I understand tariff is not the key priority, but then are you getting into that space too? Are you going to come out with these plans too?
Let us put it this way. We are already in the pay per second plan. We are already there. And the important thing is that we must understand that price premium on a go forward on a sustainable basis for any operator is a huge challenge. It's not going to happen. Theoretically, a value equation for a great brand, great service versus a commoditized brand can vary anywhere between 6 to 10%. And that's the kind of premium you get. Now, does it come in the form of a price? Need not be. It is the entire value equation of getting much heavier users onto your network, and hence you get much better revenue. You understand? So it's about that. It's about how your mix of subscribers stack up in your network, and that is what will determine. They come in, you can give the same price points to everybody, but you have much better usage customers who give you more money, who are more satisfied, but you also need to give far greater grade of service on a go forward basis, on a steady state basis. So that equation is what will determine how the premium works for a brand. It may not be in per second what premium you get, in per minute what premium you get. It doesn't look like that. It never works like that.
Okay. Coming to Vodafone as a brand, per se, it's taken, for a higher income group, I would sort of position it slightly higher than the other brands. You would have more business phones rather than, I would like to believe that you have more BlackBerry subscribers than others. Is that a fact, or what do you think about this?
No, that's a bit of a fiction.
Okay.
The fact is, I think, there is a perception like that, and I don't think this is something I'm hearing for the first time. I've heard it before. We believe that the industry is at 44% penetration, right? You have no business case, you can't survive if you are reaching out to the SEC A1, A2, which is less than 8, 9, 10% of your population. So you cannot survive if you make sense, if you stay relevant only to that audience. You need to have a universal appeal. You need to connect universally, right? Look at some of the things we have done. We might be mistaking the tonality for being a little, extra appealing to the evolved customer. The fact is, most of our campaigns are, let's say, the dog, for example, whether you use the pug or whether you use Zuzus. In my opinion, they're very universal. The communication platform is universal. The messages are universal. They're extremely simple messages, right? And I think you will understand one thing: in our tonality, our underlying philosophy is to make things, especially communication, very, very simple. And I would like to believe simplicity cuts through, right? So if it doesn't, then we need to relook. But I'm pretty sure that our simplicity in the way we have communicated permeates well beyond the limited segments we are talking about.
Those have been excellent campaigns, I must say that. And when do we see the next Zuzus or next kind of that kind of campaign?
See, as I told you earlier, it is about, to force fit, to retrofit a model which works for you is a disaster. If Zuzu has worked, we cannot retrofit that framework for whatever we want to do. We've used broadly, if you see, 3 planks. We've used Zuzus for value-added services, which are a whole plethora of services. How do we make it simple in its appeal to a customer? That's why we use Zuzu in an innovative way. We've used the dog for customer service and network. Very simple, right? Can we be of help? Wherever you go, our network is there. We have great network. Rather than saying my signal is the best, typically telecom guys communicate in a way. We use that. That's the second vertical. Third is we have used a celebrity of sorts, but not as a celebrity. Whether it's Irfan Khan or Prakash Raj, we have not used them in their capacity as a celebrity. We've used them as people who can communicate my message. It's an advisory, the tariff advisor. So we've used these 3 verticals. They're fungible, depending on what is my proposition, what is my strategic calendar, how does the marketing game plan look. That is what will determine what we use.
Okay. Coming to the financials, firstly, what is the impact of the meltdown and what are your sales projections for the next year?
Look, I don't think I have a sales projection to give you because most people in the industry won't give you unless they are industry stalwarts who will have a perspective on which way it will go. But let me answer it a little differently. Now, when a meltdown happens, right, there are ways in which it has an impact on the business. If you are capital intensive in the sense of, let us say, long cycles, automobiles, infrastructure, it has a direct impact. In our business, if you look at it, we believe growth in India is coming not from metros, it's coming from the hinterland. B, telecommunication is by far on an incremental basis for the last 2 years the most penetrated service stroke durable you can think of. Why is that happening? Because third, the customers are seeing not just value, people are seeing relevance because in those market spaces, it's making a difference to their existence. Their productivities are going up. They're far more connected to the marketplace, and those are actually making they're significantly adding to their efficiencies. And they're all agrarian, right? They look at various marketplaces, they're in a commodity space. The power of information is huge. And so you have a direct bearing on some of those communities and societies. So in such a context, people don't see you as a necessity. You are actually substituting wallet size from other categories to you. And hence I would like to believe the power of this is such that those communities will continue to get impacted favorably, more so in a downturn. So we don't see a problem.
That's a great insight. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Line. We really look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Pranav, pleasure.
Thanks. We seem to be interacting with a lot of young celebrities who pretty much start investing from the word go, which is what my money is all about. Here's actor Aditya telling us how he works his money and his earnings.
The internet is an extension of the human mind, or so believes actor Aditya. He lives an extended life online and spends a good part of it picking up tips on growing his money.
Define money. Defining money is kind of tricky for me because logically, well, it would mean a tool for you to fulfill your desires, but then in my case, what's happened, it's more like water in a bucket that's got a hole in it. The more I try to fill it up, the more it keeps going out, so there's not much which stays behind. That's money for me. It's more like water in a hole, with a bucket and a hole in it. Well, when it comes to me, as far as my investments are concerned, my whole aim is to get enough money such that I don't have to worry about earning a few years down the line. I mean, we have all read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and stuff like that. So basically the whole idea here when I look at investing is to put into something which is going to give me a return and keep building on that to a point where I don't have to worry about working for another day and yet I'm secure. So whatever else I get later on, I can go ahead and spend without feeling guilty. Where would I like to invest? I would like to invest in real estate, but then that requires a huge lot of money, which I still haven't started making as much yet. So but that's where I would like to invest. At the moment, I'm investing a lot in stocks, whatever I can. And the returns are not all that great, but it's pretty good. A lot of stuff goes into energy because I am also an emotional investor, so much so that sometimes I make wrong decisions in my investment, but a lot of my investments are based on the energy sector where I'm looking at things like windmills, like Suzlon and companies like that which is into green energy, and also into industries which are related directly to technology, because I think that's where the future is. So I am a little bit of an emotional investor, but yeah, that's where most of my money goes in.
That's all for this week. Please do mail us your comments and suggestions on feedback@ndtv-hindu.com. We'll be back next week with a mixed bag of business news, financial advice and CEO chats. Thanks for watching.